There is a truth so jarring, so contrary to the logic of love and loyalty, that most men are not ready to face it. It is a reality you must be willing to swallow. A bitter pill that will either poison you with resentment or inoculate you with a strength you never knew you possessed. It is the great soul-shattering contradiction. She will cry over you, she will shatter into 1,000 pieces, telling her friends with absolute sincerity that she misses you, that no one understood her like you did. She will sit alone in the dead of night, tears streaming down her face as she scrolls through your old messages, reliving the warmth and safety you provided, and yet, on that very same night, she will crawl into the bed of another man. This is the moment that breaks a man. It doesn't just bend him, it fundamentally shatters his sense of reality, forcing him to try and reconcile to images that cannot coexist in a sane world. The girl who swore she loved you, who wept at the thought of losing you, and the very same girl giving her body to someone who didn't even have to earn her soul. It feels like a betrayal of the highest order, an act so profoundly dissonant that it must be evil. But that is where you must pause. Because while the pain is real, your interpretation of it is likely flawed. This is not always an act of malice. It is, more often than not, an act of profound, catastrophic weakness. And you must understand that weakness is far more dangerous to a man's heart than calculated hatred. Because weakness will betray love simply to avoid a moment of discomfort. Tears for you were real. Her pain was authentic. But in the architecture of her emotionally chaotic mind, her feelings are not anchored to principles like loyalty or commitment. They are free-floating entities, governed by the storm of the present moment. In that moment of sorrow, she genuinely missed you. But if, in the next moment, an impulse for distraction, for validation, for the intoxicating numbness of a new touch arises, that impulse will drown out the memory of you. Her emotions are louder than her loyalty. This isn't a justification. It is a diagnosis. She is not looking for healing in solitude, a concept that feels like an empty void to her. She is looking for an escape, and sometimes that escape comes wrapped in the anonymous, temporary arms of a man who doesn't love her, doesn't know her, and never will. It is not about him. He is a prop. He is a vessel for a feeling, a distraction. From the agonizing work of facing herself, he is the drug she uses to forget the pain of missing you by immersing herself in something, anything, that feels new. You gave her the world consistency, safety, a deep and abiding love, and she still chose chaos. You must internalize this. She did not choose him over you. She chose momentary stimulation over the profound, sometimes quiet, work of stable love. She wasn't emotionally mature enough to value what you provided because your peace felt boring compared to the addictive highs and lows of drama. Consistency feels invisible to a person addicted to novelty. Love that doesn't hurt feels unreal to someone whose only model for passion is pain. This is the paradox that leaves good men in ruins. A man pours his soul into a woman, builds her up from her lowest point, rescues her from her demons, and invests in the potential he sees shimmering within her. The second she feels a flicker of strength or a wave of emotional confusion, she often runs straight into the arms of a man who treats her like a disposable option. Why? Because the man who hurt her before, or the new man who offers thrilling unpredictability, feels more exciting than the man who gave her peace. It's a psychological regression. She returns to what is familiar, and for many, chaos is a more familiar home than tranquility. When you show up as a stable, grounded, masculine man who doesn't play games, she may respect you on a logical level, but she doesn't feel the same neurological high that toxic cycles provide. So she creates the drama. She chases the chaos. Do not mistake her tears for a beacon calling you back home. A woman can cry over you in one breath and still crave another man's touch in the next. Her emotions are not anchored to a singular truth. They are anchored to the feeling of the moment. You are her truth, and in that moment of weakness, the truth was too heavy to carry. He is the fantasy, a weightless escape from her own mind. The world will clap for her. Her friends will hype her up with hollow phrases like, "You deserve to be happy," and social media will chant, "Go girl, live your life." Meanwhile, you are left sitting in a deafening silence, replaying everything you did right, questioning your own sanity. But this is not your shame to carry. You were not too boring, you were not too soft, you were not too much. You were simply too real for a woman who was not ready for reality. She wasn't ready for a man who showed up consistently, without needing manipulative games to feel secure. So she clung to the first thing that gave her the fleeting sensation of butterflies, not realizing that those butterflies often precede a stomach-turning fall. She is a master at compartmentalizing. She can place her genuine sadness for hurting you in one box, and her pursuit of new passion in another, and never allow the two to touch. That doesn't make her a monster, but it does make her emotionally chaotic, and unless you understand this dynamic, you will take her tears as proof of love and keep the door to your heart cracked open, waiting for a woman who is, in reality, already gone. The moment a man truly accepts the brutal contradiction described in the wreckage of his love, he stands at a crossroads. One path leads to a spiral of bitterness, revenge, and repeated mistakes. The other path, though steeper and paved with the sharp shards of his broken heart, leads to a resurrection. It is the path of alchemy, the sacred work of transforming the poison of betrayal into the medicine of unshakable strength. The first step on this path is to stop looking at her choices through the lens of logic. This isn't about right or wrong. As you understand it, it is about emotional impulse. You must accept that her nature, in its current state, is guided by sensation. If it feels good in the moment, it must be right. If it requires uncomfortable self-reflection, it must be wrong. This is why she can weep for the man who was good for her, then jump into bed with the man who provides a fleeting adrenaline rush. Once you stop trying to make sense of nonsense, you can begin the work of rebuilding your own power. This work begins with true detachment. Detachment is not a game you play to get her back. It is a surgery you perform to get yourself back. It is not a bitter, performative silence while you secretly check her social media every 5 minutes, hoping for a sign of her regret. That is not power. It is just neediness in disguise. True detachment is a cold, clean amputation of your emotional investment. It is the profound, internal decision that your peace of mind is more valuable than her validation. You must stop waiting for the day she wakes up and comes back crying, because even if she does, you will never be able to look at her the same way again. You will never forget that she had the capacity to cry over you and still give her body away to someone else. That knowledge leaves a scar that no apology can ever truly fix. So, what do you do with this agonizing pain? You use it. You take that gut-wrenching image of her betrayal and you turn it into fuel. This is the moment you stop being the man who begs for answers and you become the man who is the answer. You stop chasing, you stop explaining, you stop pleading. You observe, you learn, and then you build. Every ounce of energy you once spent on her analyzing her words, waiting for her texts, trying to fix her, you must now pour back into yourself with a righteous fury. You hit the gym with a newfound purpose, not to sculpt a revenge body to show her, but to forge physical armor for your resurrected spirit. You sharpen your mind, reading books that challenge you. You level up in your career, not to make her regret leaving, but because your mission is now more compelling than her memory. You will know you are truly healing when you stop needing her pain to validate yours. The immature man hopes she is suffering without him. He fantasizes about her new relationship failing. The evolved man is indifferent to her fate. Real detachment arrives when you can hear she's with someone new and feel nothing. Not because you are cold and numb, but because you have fundamentally evolved past the need to be chosen by her. Because you have finally, irrevocably, chosen yourself. That self-respect radiates an energy that is louder and more potent than any apology she could ever offer, any memory you shared, any tear she ever shed. Some women, you must understand, use tears as a manipulation tactic. They know it tugs at your masculine instinct to protect, to comfort, to fix. They will weaponize their own emotional outbursts to keep you tethered, creating a vicious loop of disrespect and forgiveness. But you are not that man anymore. You have seen the pattern. You have connected the dots. And now, you trust actions above all. If her actions do not align with loyalty and respect, you walk. Every single time. You do not need revenge. You need distance, emotional, mental, and physical. The farther you get from her orbit, the clearer you will see how much of yourself you are compromising, how much you are tolerating, how much you are shrinking just to keep her close. Eventually, she will wake up, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day she will be lying next to the wrong man with the echo of your name in her memory. She will realize she traded substance for spectacle, depth for dopamine, and loyalty for lust. She will crumble under the weight of her own choices, but by then, you will be gone. Not bitter, not broken, but better. Your silence will speak more about your value than any "I miss you" ever could. You will have one, not because you got her back, but because you never ever let her break you. The man who existed when she left is dead. The man you have become in his place is too powerful, too peaceful, and too focused on his own path to even entertain her memory. You don't owe her closure. You don't owe her friendship. Forgiveness, you can give for your own peace, but access to your world, that is sacred, that is reserved for a woman who would guard your heart like her own. not the one who stomped on it and then cried because you were bleeding.